makeup tutorial video. I don't know if this will be a tutorial or more of like a, here's what I'm doing to my makeup right now that I like. I'm currently using my other camera that's on a tripod right now as my like tripod, because I honestly like the way that the video looked right now with this camera. First, as you can see, the curls are prepping. Prep and prime. I would argue the most important makeup step there is. Now, I already prepped my face for my makeup today, but I'm gonna talk about the things I used to prep because I always like to like my what. It's important that my skincare is on my face for at least 20 minutes, 30 minutes before I put my primer on. Wake up in the morning, I spray my Tower 28 SOS spray, and if my skin's feeling a little dry, I'll use a little hyaluronic acid. This milky skin toner is the truth. I've been through maybe 3 of these. It's basically like a liquid moisturizer, but it's so light and hydrating, and it leaves my skin very glowy. And then after that, I'll use a little bit of my Rhode barrier butter if I know I'm wearing makeup. And then I always incorporate some SPF. This is my current favorite sunscreen. I've been using it for the past 2 years now. I love it a lot. The prep is already done. Now let's go ahead and do some primer. Blur and Hydrate face primer from Refy. Now, if I want something a little bit more mattifying, I'll use this one from Danessa Myricks. But for an everyday moment, this is like perfect for me. There's a hummingbird. It's staring right at me. I've been seeing so many hummingbirds recently. What does that mean? I used to think primer was a scam for a long time until I actually found one that I liked and I realized it wasn't. All right, next, after I prime my face, I like to do brows. Brows for me are part of the prep and prime routine of it all. This is a very cheap brow gel. It's from Ardell. It's disgusting. I use it every day. I already have a backup. It's like $8 and it's my favorite one. I basically run it through the opposite way first. Talks about how much I love this brow gel a lot. But one thing I always say, make sure to work fast because it does dry very fast. And this is from ABH 12 brush. And it basically just has a spoolie and this little guy at the bottom. But I've actually stopped carving out my brows recently. That's been a newer development. I used to use concealer to like carve out my brows, but I don't do that anymore. Flattening it out with the side. Not for any particular reason besides the fact that I just kind of like an even more natural brow now, and I prefer it without the sculpting now. I used to use the ABH dip brow back in the day. This YouTube channel actually used to have feature, unfortunately, maybe fortunately, it's kind of cute. I used to do get ready with me's before like my junior year of high school, senior year of high school. They're all privated now, but I would use that ABH brow situation pomade religiously, and my brows were black boxes. And I've really stopped trying to get like perfect brows. I used to think they should both look the exact same and be so perfect, but they don't have to be. If I am feeling it, I'll take a little bit of the Refy brow pencil. This one's in the shade Espresso. I like it because it's really teeny, and I'll fill it in a little, nothing too crazy. Now we're on to complexion. Look at how cute this little saie case is. TikTok has taught me a lot of things, but one thing TikTok has introduced me to is this wonderful woman named Katie Jane Hughes. She talks a lot about priming your products and priming your brush. So I'm using the Milk Makeup Bronzer in the shade Blitzed, basically warming up the product on the back of your hand first. And then I'm taking the Refy dual-ended brush and I'm actually priming the brush first before I put it on my face. If I've learned anything in the past 2 years of doing my own makeup and learning how to do my own makeup, it's that technique actually matters. Whoa, who would have thunk it? I do think that when I'm just filming a video for work and there's gonna be bright lights, maybe I have studio lights in the situation, the way I do my makeup is very different than how I would do my makeup if I was going out after. Because sometimes when you have all those bright lights, you overcompensate because you get washed out. So whenever I want my makeup that I'm showing on camera to look as good in person, or at least translate the same exact way, because I think they both look good, they just translate differently, I really lean on technique. And this is a technique that I've found to be tried and true, has been a game changer, and just my makeup looking so much more professional. Because I would see makeup artists using obviously like the backs of their hands or palettes and then brushes onto my face when it came to complexion, and I always thought it was a sanitary thing, which I do think it still kind of is, but I do also think it's a technique situation, right? So like having actual control over the amount of product that you put on your face. When it comes to elevating your makeup, two things: control and technique. It's so much easier to add than it is to take away. You will just never catch me not bronzed. I'm sorry. That doesn't exist. That world does not exist. All right, next is the very first blush. You're gonna see we're gonna use quite a few blushes here. This is the Rhode blush in the shade Plum. And then I'm using the Patrick Ta for Face 6 brush. And we're using the flatter, denser side. And honestly, I just go right in with my blush personally. And this is just the first of like 2 or 3 blush applications that I'll do in this whole routine. I know this is gonna be covered up by concealer in a second, so I'm not too worried. I do think when it comes to blush, if you're figuring out how pigmented it is and you're still understanding the product, highly recommend using it on the back of your hand first and then putting it on the brush and then on your face, because it's just a lot easier to understand the product. But I use this every single day, so I know exactly what it's gonna give me. Concealer trio. If you watch any of my TikTok videos, it's getting focused probably, you know that I love my concealer trio. I use 3 different concealers. Lip tint from Saie, it's in the shade 21. We're gonna do the same kind of like priming method that I talked about before with my concealer. I think this is where it also makes such a big difference. I have the most crease potential under here, so I feel like doing this technique, game changer. Using the BK Beauty 2-in-2 brush, I use a fluffy brush, and we're just priming the product by just twirling it around, tapping it in, and really just getting it into the brush and warming it up. I just start to apply right underneath my eye. Now this one is closer to my skin tone. I always find that it's important to start with like more of a color correcting concealer before I go in with my super bright concealers, if that makes sense. I just like to pat this into the higher parts of my face. And when you prime it with a brush, it definitely transfers. It's just a lot less like dramatic, which I think we kind of like when we're watching TikTok videos and we're seeing people do their makeup. Like we kind of like the like stark, like you add it here and you add it here and you add a lot and this is what it looks like. And it's just more visually appealing because you see it right away. But with this, it's like a little bit more subtle, but trust me, it's gonna be worth it. My Hourglass concealer, this one's in the shade Mocha, and we're doing the same thing. We're doing the same exact thing, and you'd be surprised at how little product you actually need to conceal underneath your eyes. That's one thing I've learned doing this method. You can already see how it's brightening underneath my eye, but in a way that still feels like it's not too much. And I always keep my bronzer brush nearby because I'll take it and I'll use it to kind of like clean up the edges of my concealer a little bit. I don't add extra bronzer, I just use whatever's left over on there. And I kind of just use it to brighten up, lighten up around. Now, if I have somewhere to be and I want to use a foundation, this is normally where I'll add the foundation on my face. On the areas I didn't add the bronzer or concealer. So I'll use the NARS D4.5 or my one size foundation. I don't think I have it here. It's like Deepest 15 Neutral Golden. Love that one because it's like a soft matte finish. And then I just take whatever's left over on my blush brush, but we're not done yet. I did say concealer trio. The last little bit of my concealer is Maple. It's this really light concealer, the tiniest amount. Again, using this technique, I've just realized how little product you actually need to achieve what you want to achieve. It's great. So I just tap this in. And this concealer, I'm only adding really in like the innermost parts of my eye here, kind of where I want it to be the brightest. I'm nowhere close to being a professional. Like I recognize that I've grown in my makeup journey, but I think it still is shocking to me that people like gain so much from my makeup insight, because I still feel like such a beginner in makeup. Like 3 years ago, what was it? 3 years ago? Yeah, like 3 years ago, I barely wore anything. And not even in like a cute pick-me way, but in a way where I genuinely lacked the skill. Also the interest. Like I think I got so burned by makeup not being made for me, specifically because I wasn't going to the Sephora's or Ulta's. I was going to the drugstores and they never had my shades. It never worked for me. And I just got discouraged, I think, because I had a huge phase in high school where, like I said, I would make cute little makeup videos and that was fun and cute. But then I just realized how inaccessible everything was and it kind of just made me uninspired. So like younger me right now would be very proud of myself. Okay, this is the Sephora microsmooth powder in the shade Hazelnut. I take my powder brush from Charlotte Tilbury and I just like kind of pat this along where I just put all my concealer. And I don't do a whole lot of this. This is just kind of to initially set my concealer, but it's not like I add too much. It's just kind of already picked up a lot of that oiliness. It just kind of smooths everything out. It's a microsmooth powder, so that makes sense. A little bit of that. Now we go in with the big guns. Huda Beauty and Peach Pie. I guess we're still kind of at the complexion stage, right? I just pat it in here. I just do that. It always looks really messy when I do it, but trust me, it does something. Trust the process, okay? Trust the process. Hot. Now for my personal favorite part, bronzer. Khaya Spice Deep bronzer. I love this stuff. I love this stuff so much, okay? So I take my saie dual-ended brush and I take the kind of skinnier side and I use my bronzer as eyeshadow. I don't really wear eyeshadow on a regular basis, but I just put that all along my lids. It just adds a toastiness. It also will marry together with all of the extra bronzer that I add all over my face in a second, and I just like the way it looks on me. I like the dimension it gives me. I think it's very pretty. Can't believe there was a time in my life that I didn't wear bronzer. But it is really wild to look back and to see how differently I did my makeup. Even back in like 2022 in my first ever LA apartment, my makeup looked so different, you guys. It looked so different. If I could give her a piece of advice from current me, it would be to keep going and take your time. It takes time to build your own beauty ritual. It takes time to build your own beauty routine. This age where we get everything we want right when we want it, we forget that like all of the best things take time. We're using Tower 28's mascara in the shade Jet. I love this mascara a lot. I feel like I've grown 12 different people in the past 3 years, and maybe that's your early 20s, honestly. Since I turned 25 in December, I feel like I'm starting to question things. And you know what? I think it's a good thing. But it is really cool to have like these phases of my life documented, I think. I also think we all need to be like less harsh on ourselves. Maybe one of these days I'll unprivate one of my high school get ready with me videos because they are horrible. I was on this exact channel doing reviews on like fake Kylie lip kits. And I was having the time of my life. Not a care in the world and block eyebrows. What a time to be alive. I love this mascara a lot. Tower 28. You did exactly what you needed to do with this mascara. I recently got sent this Prada mascara, and it's weird because it's only one-sided and the other side is just a metal rod, but it actually is really nice. I like using two mascaras together personally. I do always add a lot of layers of mascara. People have actually started commenting on my get ready with me's when they're like, you only added your mascara twice, are you okay? Trust me, I always add more. But I do this thing where towards the end of my mascara routine, I only add mascara towards the ends of my lashes, or I'll take a specific like volumizing mascara like the Charlotte Tilbury one, and I'll only add it to the ends of my lashes, and it kind of creates this like almost like cat eye effect that's just really, really pretty. Anyway, that's what I like to do, my little mascara cat eye hack. Everything's a hack now. Then I'm gonna take the beauty blender and we're just gonna pat out this powder. In my most recent favorites video, someone was like, can you share things that like aren't just things you got for free? And I feel like it's funny because I don't think people on here know what I do like outside of YouTube, which I actually kind of like. I actually kind of like that. Milk makeup, also another major makeup tip, spray your setting spray in between your makeup steps. It's the best way to make sure everything marries together, your creams, your liquids, your powders. I either use this one or I use the Charlotte Tilbury one. Anyways, back to what I was saying while I add some bottom lash mascara. I do get a lot of things for free. I do get gifted a lot of things, but I also do buy a lot of the things I'm gifted. A lot of the times I get gifted things and they send it to me once and I realize I really like it, and I go out and I buy it again. And in my favorites videos, the things I showcase are things I actually like and are things I would buy with my own money, which is why they're my favorites. I do think creators get sent a lot of free stuff and it is really wild. We're gonna go back in with my bronzer from Haus Labs, but we're using this side now. It is wild and you'd be surprised at how much stuff I get on a regular basis, but I do donate the majority of my things, and I do giveaways, which is really, really, really nice. There's no shortage of people around me that are, you know, willing to accept free beauty and skincare, so it's great. It was like a big learning curve for me in the beginning, was like understanding just how much stuff you get. The base is looking spectacular. I'm taking whatever was left over on this little saie brush that we used, remember? I just kind of wanted to clean up the powder on the sides there, but now another moment blush. Let's call this blush. Obviously we did our foundation blush. This is Nightbloom from mcgrath. I've hit pan. I've been through 2 of these. The most pretty red purple combination. And I just pat that on my cheeks on top of the foundation blush, which was the Rhode, but we're actually gonna go back in with the Rhode again at the very, not at the very end, but towards the end. I like to do my cream, a powder, and then another cream on top. Just look at how pretty that looks on me. And I actually bring it up into my eyes a little bit if I want to look and feel a little extra colorful. I really do pack this in because I'm going to use my Charlotte Tilbury pressed powder in a second. And I just like want to make sure this pops out, you know? And I really am a big major blush girl. Then I just kind of start doing this swiping motion kind of out towards the end. Instead of patting it into my face, I kind of am swiping it out. And I feel like that just like, for whatever reason, looks really good. Finishing touches, if you will. My finishing touches step is like 12 steps, but we'll call it finishing touches because why not? Charlotte Tilbury number 4. And I take a powder puff and I like puff it underneath my eye like this. Sometimes I use a powder brush and sometimes I use my powder puff. It really just depends. All over. When I think of my makeup, I think bronze and I think blush. We're gonna go back with my hydrogrip. Wouldn't you know it? Make sure everything sits. Going back in with mascara. If it is a little smudged, I will probably leave it that way. Taking my bronzer brush and just like. Next is this lowlighter from Danessa Myricks in the shade Off the Grid. It's my favorite highlighter. This and the Haus Labs highlight. These 2 are the only highlighters that I like to use. I prefer a balmy highlight as opposed to like a powdery one. I just think it goes with my routine way better. And I just add this to all the higher points of my face. So my cheeks, my brow bones. Okay, now I think I'm gonna do freckles. Urban Decay 24/7 inks and whiskey. I just like dot this everywhere. Really dark. It's kind of like a dark brown, but it kind of looks black. I don't mind it. I lost my other freckle pens. I want to try the little freckle pen where you like spray it onto yourself. I want to try that, but for now we're doing this. Cute. I take my powder puff and I kind of like set the freckles a little bit by doing this. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. The Charlotte Tilbury powder number 3, which is like pretty bright. And I take my powder brush from Charlotte Tilbury and I just pat and I kind of just like prime it up in here. And then I add it into where I added my really bright highlighter. Right in here, and that just kind of brightens everything up a little bit. All right, now I told you we'd go back in with the blush. This is Rhode's blush in plum. I take a teeny tiny bit. You don't need a lot. I literally dabbed it twice. Very pigmented. Pat it right on top. And it's always my last little touch with blush because the radiance is impeccable. I take a little bit and I put it on my chin, put it on my forehead, and it kind of just like balances it out in an interesting way when I do that. Like, oh, wow. And then at the very end, I'll use my Charlotte Tilbury powder. Wait, let me get my actual setting powders that I use. This is my favorite combination. I do a little bit of Charlotte Tilbury. I'm almost out of that, which is really sad. So I'll normally spray more than that, but we're rationing. And then the One Size On Till Dawn is a little lethal, but your makeup's not gonna move. And I put this one on if I know I'm gonna have a day or if I know I really want my makeup to last. Wow. Now I take whatever's left over on my powder brush and I add that here and here and here. Sometimes I take whatever's left on my bronzer brush and I add that just to make sure everything is blended out. Last but not least, my lips. I do like a lip combo, but recently I've just been liking a sparkly, glittery lip. Danessa Myricks Colorfix in Pink Ice. You can use this on your eyes, your lips, or your cheeks. I like using this on my lips. I just think it's really pretty. Kind of reminds me of like the early 2000s. It's like a fun, sparkly pink. Okay, now let's take down this hair. I'm actually very excited. Now for the moment of truth. Me and a heatless curl. Let's do this side. Woo! The volume's crazy. Everything I could ever want in a makeup routine. Oh, I feel like an old Hollywood star. And this is the final makeup look. Hopefully you liked it. Maybe you learned something from it. Either way, I had fun and I want to do more of these. That came out really cute.